Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Raw Take. I'm your host, Rob Reed. This is your review for the July 23rd of 2021 edition of SmackDown. This is a actually very enjoyable episode of SmackDown. Uh, uh, I really do enjoy the crowds being back. There was one crowd that I wasn't exactly happy with in this on this show, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall, I think tonight was a really good episode. We'll get into it now. The show starts off with John Cena comes to the ring, ready to give his challenge to Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. He asks the crowd, "What team are you on? Are you on Team John Cena? Or are you on Team Roman Reigns?" He does mention, he says, probably a lot of questions surrounding him right now. Like, how did he get out of that alternate reality from the Firefly Funhouse match from last year's WrestleMania? Did he steal all the costumes from the Suicide Squad movie? Normal funny lines from Cena. This actually brings out not Roman Reigns, but it brings out Paul Heyman, who tells him that Cena is not even worthy of being listened to by Roman Reigns. But he will get his answer later tonight. And then he very funny. He starts mocking Cena's entrance music. But I thought this was a good way to start the show, get the crowd into it. We'll move on. After this, we have Finn Balor's return to the main roster. He faces Sami Zayn, who he interrupted last week. This is a pretty good match. It's kind of hard to have a bad match between Finn Balor and Sami Zayn. Even it's a short match, but a pretty decent match. Nothing too special here. Finn Balor picks up the win with the coup de grace. And after this, we get a segment backstage with Baron Corbin, where he mentions that his crowdfunding website that he had made, the person who made that website scammed him and took all the money from he received for it. So he was like, he doesn't know what's wrong with him, and he walks off sad. Call me crazy. I can't believe it, but I think this Corbin story is finally I'm finally coming around on this. I do find it funny, and later on in the night there's more added to it. We'll get to that later. But right after this segment, this Big E makes his way to the ring with a gigantic pop, really big pop. He comes into the ring, but he's immediately interrupted by Apollo Crews, and I am serious. I need to ask this. This feud between these two have gone on since before WrestleMania. Can we end this now? Please. We don't need them wrestling anymore. We've seen enough combination of Big E versus Apollo Crews for a long time. We don't need to see it. But we will tonight. This actually brings out Apollo Crews brings out Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. They start to cut a promo, but they're immediately cut off by Rick Boogs, who I started to like initially, but needs to go away. All he's doing is tearing down Nakamura's. He's tearing away Nakamura's mystique away, like immediately. He needs to go away. He really hurts Nakamura's theme and everything he's about, if you ask me. Because everybody just wants to sing along with the theme. They don't need him coming out playing the song. And he's not even that good at playing it. But we got a quick match. This isn't even, I completely forgot. I thought it was a match. It's not even a match. They just completely clear out the baby faces, just completely clear out the heels. Oh, Cesaro was involved. It was probably one of the weakest parts of the show. Moving on. Now we'll get into what I was talking about. This show was a simulcast episode. Part of the show took place in Cleveland. And the other, and like a good probably like 30 minutes of the show took place at the Rolling Loud Rap Festival, which I'm all for this crowd, and it should have been great with the two acts involved. You had the first act. This was Street Profits came out. Angelo Dawkins was going to have a match with Chad Gable, and it was a decent match. It was an okay match. Dawkins won. So it was an okay match. This brings out Bianca Belair, the women's champion. One of the freshest baby faces, freshest acts in the company. And this crowd, because all they were there for was to see a rap concert. And also the way the staging was done, it looked, I don't even know if they could actually see what was happening during the match. Because they had to look really up high. Now you've got 80,000 people at this festival, so the crowd looks huge. But they're just standing there not even reacting to what's going on. In either of the matches, you got the Dawkins and Chad Gable, and then you have Bianca Belair versus Carmella, which was okay. Decent match. Bianca wins. No surprise there, but it's like the crowd, and WWE is still, even with crowds back, they're still pumping in crowd noise, and it's really distracting to hear these loud cheers, and you see people just not even paying attention to what's going on. It makes it look so obvious that you're pumping in crowd noise, and then in turn it makes everything look bad. And I'm gonna say it, fuck that crowd for not even giving a slight reaction to Bianca Belair. Like, one of the most obvious stars you could see right now. And they had no reaction whatsoever. I hated that. I'm not gonna be one to say they need to stop doing these, working with mainstream festivals, because it does bring more eyes, and it is something different. And again, all I ask is something different, something new. Try something. I said this during my Dynamite review. Try. That's all I ask of a wrestling company. Just try. That's all I ask. Just try. And normally, if you at least try, something good will come along. Like tonight. Tonight's SmackDown, they at least tried some things. The crowd part fell flat, but I understood what they were trying to accomplish. They're trying to get more eyes. Let's face it, WWE has lost a lot of eyes on their product lately. In the past few years. Like, the ratings have just started going down and down and down. So they're trying to do anything they can to get more viewers. So I understand trying to work with like these festivals and stuff. Try something new. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work after what we saw tonight. But at least they're trying. I'll give them that. At least on SmackDown, it seems like they're trying some stuff. And some new and fresh stuff. And we'll get to more of that later tonight. But moving on, the next we have Edge comes out. This is probably my favorite part of the entire show. Edge came out. He was this close to beating Roman Reigns at SmackDown at Money in the Bank. He was this close. He said he had the Mysterios were there to take care of the Usos, who he figured were the main problem he'd have during his match with Roman. But instead, the person who cost him the match was Seth Rollins. So he calls out Seth Rollins. Rollins comes out and he says, a few years ago, I had you dead to rights. I had you laid up against a chair and was ready to stomp your head into. That when I get that chance again, I'm not going to fail to pull the trigger. And Edge, because Edge initially says, I'm not going to punch you. I'm not going to fight you right now. And after Edge says that, he says, you know what? Edge says, you know what? I forgot to tell you something you should always know about me. I tend to lie. And he hits Rollins, and Rollins does one of the best sells to the execution I have ever seen. I know it's done a little different. It's not a double arm, but it looked as close to Death Rider / Paradigm Shift that I've seen. I've seen Edge do. Rollins sold that. I love the way he sold that. He sold it like he was dead. But Edge was about to try to do a spear, and Rollins rolls out before Edge can hit it. I thought this was one of the best segments on tonight's show. I am so looking forward to their match. That's probably that right now. that is the only match I care about really going into SummerSlam. Outside of what will most likely be John Cena versus Reigns. After this, Toni Storm makes her main roster SmackDown debut against Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega doesn't even get an entrance. They fired her because of her, her stance on trying to do her Twitch, and the whole thing that happened, and then they hire her. She signs back. They fire her husband. He's now in AEW. And she comes back, and she has not won a single solitary match since she's come back. Not one. This match wasn't any different, but what I am going to say is that new finisher of Toni Storm's is absolutely amazing. That looks awesome. It's like flips them into a cutter, and it looks really cool. I love that finish. But yeah, Zelina, I don't know. It seems like I don't know if she's still in the doghouse, but I think she's going to eat some plates full of it here for a while. It's something they do. It's something WWE does. They might hire you back, but you're gonna eat shit for crossing Vince. That's the biggest problem I have with this fucking company. Is they always have to stick it to anyone who's done anything they didn't like. Unless you had a DUI, then they stick you with then they give you a tag team title. But call you out for your bullshit policies? Oh, we're gonna bury your motherfucking ass. Moving on. Now we have Dominic Mysterio. This is technically your main event match. Dominic Mysterio takes on Jimmy Uso. It's one thing. I understand this isn't exactly a rematch from Money in the Bank. It's not a tag match. It's a singles. But they literally recycle the same exact finish from Money in the Bank. A roll up with Jay holding on to Jimmy for leverage. It's the same exact finish. You couldn't come up with a single different, just a slightly different finish. You had to do the same exact finish. I don't know. Yeah, that wasn't good. I was not happy about that. The match was fine. The match was fine. The match was perfectly fine. But I am so done with the rematches, same finishes. It is the main issue I have with WWE. It's the main reason it's harder and harder to watch. SmackDown does way better with it. I don't know how, because it's the same company, but I don't know how. Maybe it's the 3 hours versus 2. There's just less slog to deal with. But SmackDown seems to do a little better of making things a little bit cohesive, and they try some new things, but they're still the same problem, still the same rematch after rematch after rematch. So after this match, that's when Roman comes out. And Roman has one of the best lines I have ever heard him say. He says, he starts by asking everyone to acknowledge him, everyone in the crowd to acknowledge him, looks directly into the camera and says, "You need to acknowledge me." He said, "John Cena acknowledged me at Money in the Bank. He acknowledged me on Raw, and he acknowledged me tonight on SmackDown." He said, "But I do not acknowledge John Cena." He said, "I wanted to." He said, "I wanted to acknowledge John Cena." That Hollywood had made me believe that John Cena was a different guy. But what happens? He comes out, same music, same entrance, same promo, same shirts. He said I could have switched over to a episode from 2005. He said, when you do the same thing over and over and over and over again, he said, it's like missionary position over and over and over again. He said, and I don't do that. I love that. You don't expect something like that on a WWE show. You don't expect that from in any kind of promo. Roman Reigns is absolutely one of the best promos in all of wrestling right now. I will admit it. I don't know if he's finally said, I don't know if maybe he said, I'm cousins with The Rock. I get a few things. I get a few perks. One, I get to say what the fuck I want. No more suffer and succotash, son. None of that. No more of that shit. I get to actually make real promos. What WWE initially wanted him to be and tried to push him as. Because now he's getting a lot closer to the Rock promo style that they wanted him to be. It's different. It's not The Rock's promo style. He's actually grown into his own, has his own promo style, and it's some of the best, absolutely the best stuff in WWE. Best promo work in WWE. I would go to say possibly best promo in wrestling right now outside of Eddie Kingston. We'll find out if CM Punk is actually going to AEW. That, he might have something to say about being the best promo. But right now, I think it's between Eddie Kingston and Roman Reigns as the two best promos in all of wrestling. I saw Jay White. I thought he was decent. I finally got to see Jay White. He was decent on Impact, but he didn't come off the way. He didn't come off as cool as Roman Reigns comes off right now, and he doesn't come off as genuine as Eddie Kingston. So, yeah, I think Roman is absolutely 100% the best promo in WWE. I'm waiting for this now. Then I almost didn't even talk about what happened to the rest of this segment. This then brings out Finn Balor, because Roman says, not only do I not acknowledge you, I don't see you. I don't want to see you. And we're not going to see you because my answer to your challenge is no. This brings out Finn Balor, which I was very happy to see. And Finn Balor comes out and he says, you know, remember who I beat the first night in WWE? Who was that? Oh yeah, that was you. So I want you to acknowledge me, and I challenge you for that title. And Roman Reigns accepts. I love it. Again, something fresh, something new. They haven't really had a feud. I'm perfectly fine with that being the feud leading into SummerSlam. I'm perfectly happy with that. Now, I know that means Finn has to lose. He's going to lose to Reigns. But, you know, I'm perfectly fine with that feud, doing that short feud before the main Cena feud for SummerSlam. I would imagine that it's going to have to be kind of quick, just a couple weeks. But I'm perfectly fine with that, if that's what they're going to do in between his match with Cena. I'm fine with that. Love it. So yeah, this was an easy episode to get through. Only real minor gripes would be doing the same finish, and I hated the crowd from Rolling Loud because they didn't give two shits about what was going on. And my other gripe would be just they need to stop pumping in crowd noise because they don't need it anymore. They don't need the pumped in crowd noise, because there was a section when Big E came out, you know, the crowd was already actually chanting "You deserve it," but then it was obvious that they were out trying to pump in "You deserve it" chants too, and it was weird because the two audios clashed, and you could tell that there was a audio issue with them trying to pump in chants that were already being shouted. They don't need them because the crowds are there. Crowds are there to actually cheer for stuff and chant stuff. Let the crowd tell you what they like. That's another big problem I have with WWE. They want to tell the fans how they should react instead of listening to how the fans react and act accordingly, like every other wrestling company does. So that's my review for SmackDown. I've been Rob Reed. This has been the Raw Take. If you like this review, if you like this show, give it a like, subscribe, share it. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rob Reed, and I will see you next time.